It's not just mine, his or her house. It's not just mine, his or her house. This is our house.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tyrone Lowe. The show is called The Legends. I'm your host. I want to thank everybody that actually subscribes to me all over the world and show me love. And without you guys, there wouldn't be no legends. In the house of the legends, I have my co-star, Ray Velazquez, in the house, and our guest. Now, let me tell you about our guest. This guy's iconic, man. I mean, he's probably mixed. If you have a record collection, he's probably like at least a quarter of it. And he goes a long way. He was one of the executives, and he also worked with Vanguard Records. And we're going to talk to him. His name is Mark Berry. Welcome to the Legends, Mark.
Great, Tyrone. Great to see you, Pinky. Long time.
Great to see you too, Mark.
Hey,
Long
man.
time.
Yeah,
So what we're going to do, we're going to take you way back, because I know that you started at a young age
right,
in the studio, and where you
right.
actually learned the concept and the fundamentals of it. Do you want to tell the viewers about that?
Sure. So I started, I had this teacher in high school at the age of 16. She got me into this school, Institute of Audio Research in Lower Manhattan by Washington Square Park, um, called the Institute of Audio Research. And I went there, I did 2 years there. I would go into Manhattan 3 nights a week. And then I would do my workshops at Vanguard Records, strangest of all, which I wound up working there for 12 years. But I did that for quite a bit of time, and then uh, uh, put together. I didn't want to go to Vietnam, so I put together a whole scenario where I go. I had my little certificate from the school, and went to England and had the names of all my favorite acts on written down, and where Elton John recorded, where David Bowie recorded, and just pounded on doors for 2 weeks and got a job.
What was your greatest influence, and what actually say to yourself, well, I wanted to get into that type of field?
My greatest influence were the early jazz recordings that my dad would bring home, where I was asking my dad, hey, Dad, how come the drums are on the left speaker and the trumpets on the right speaker, Louis Armstrong records and stuff like that. And then, my dad was like, I don't know, go find out, It's like, so that's what I did. I went and found out, and that's how I learned how to engineer. And then went to England, and luckiest kid in the world, got a job with Sir George Martin, who produced all the Beatle records.
Wow, that's really really incredible.
Mhm.
Ray, you want to piggyback?
Yeah. You know, like basically, Mark, your journey has been an incredible one and one that inspires others to step into their own careers and find out what they themselves are all about.
Right.
Um, and that's an incredible place to be. Um, and we all know that no matter what path we're choosing, it's all a path of challenges, surprises, rewards, and you take the good with the bad, and over time you're moving in a direction.
Hmm.
So my question to you, Mark, um, is how did AMG and the Attack Media Group, how did that come to fruition? What caused the creation of AMG?
Well, I had moved to Canada, right? My attorney, Paul Schindler, still my attorney to this day, had represented a Canadian client. And I came up, I made a record with the client, and it won a Juno Award, which is like a Canadian Grammy. So I just continued staying up here, working, flying back. It was only 90 minutes to New York City, so it was an easy flight. And also I was export. I was keeping the budgets in Canada, and I was exporting the very records I was producing when I got done with them, because I go to America, put deals together for them. So that's really how I wound up in Canada, and then getting involved with multiple artists up here that I was just exporting. But I mean that was like 91, and before that I was just working at Air Studios, came back, walked the streets for a bit, and then luckiest kid, I got a job with Vanguard Records in 1976. So that's where the whole dance thing kind of started taking
Sure.
shape taking shape for me.
Dance came about a little bit. I don't know if it was dance or were you referring to disco? Uh, are you? Is that what it is?
Yeah, yeah, we're uh, the artists. Correct me if I'm wrong, Pink. Is that like the artists that we were working with? Patrick Adams and these types of producers. Um, they were disco dance artists. With a little bit of R&B in them. Not so much four on the floor, but a little bit of R&B, and we you know that's what we got really good at. You know. And I remember taking records when we were like almost done with them after working for 20 hours, and walking over to see Jelly Bean at the Funhouse, and they say, here, put this cassette in. This is something that we're working on, and then we sit there and we'd watch the audience, and okay, we got to cut here and we got to cut here. We lost our interest here, and that's really. And then we walked back to Vanguard. It was only what, a 10-minute walk, Pinky, from Vanguard to Funhouse.
Yeah. Right.
So
Yeah. So maybe less than that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we'd walk back, and then we just
Uh,
finish off the recording, finish the mixing.
Let's talk about your very
I
first platinum,
remember,
man. Oh, go ahead, Pinky.
I remember, Mark, when you and I were at Vanguard Studios. And we worked on a bunch of records together.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I remember one record. I mean, I talked to a lot of these new producers today, and the difference of recording records back then, and the way they're done today. It's all digital today, but going back to the analog days, back to when you and I were recording, Mark. I remember we had done that record, uh, 14 Days by Lex. And if you remember the beginning of the record, there was a smashing bottle sound on the record. Well, we had gotten up on a 20-foot ladder in the
Yeah,
studio and dropped the bottle to
yeah,
capture the glass sound on the record.
yeah,
And when I talk to people about these things, they're like amazed that this is the way records were done
yeah,
back in the
yeah.
70s
Really, totally
and
off the
80s.
cuff. And the beauty of Vanguard was that it was the ballroom to the Carteret Hotel.
Yeah,
Right? So it was this huge room and of course they needed the big room because Seymour Solomon, one of the owners, the two brothers that owned Vanguard, did a lot of classical recording. So we had like orchestra sessions in there where you'd have 30 people, 40 people in it. So it had to be big. But yeah, we did a lot of those sound effects. In fact, I did that. Do you remember the song "One More Shot" by Seabank?
yeah. C-Bank, yeah.
Yeah, I did a lot of the bottle smashing. You're climbing up on the ladder with a bunch of bottles. You know,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, were you um were
Uh,
you in the era of splicing reel to reel tapes back in the days? And
Yes, very much so. Yeah,
can you tell the viewers about the concept of that? Those that doesn't know about that?
sure, sure. Well, I mean, Pinky brings up a great point about the analog and the digital formats. There was a way you work the tape machine when you're recording. Uh, uh, you would line up to +3. So when you brought the meters down to zero, when you brought it up to zero to record, you were actually recording at an elevated level, right? So you were embedding the tape with more sound, more level, right? So when it played back, and you had 24 tracks of that, and you played it back, it's just like, whoa, it came back at you louder, the whole recording. So that's really how we, the technical side of making records for us was
Absolutely.
like I was an engineer, so I was like, I got into that stuff, and then of course splicing the tape, I was like, I was Mr. Splice, eh? Pinky, I could cut a tape, man. I could cut
I
a
think
tape.
I think compared to today, that took a certain type of perseverance to actually do that type of function. Uh, spicing tapes, putting them together, and engaging in a mix. Where today it's a whole different scenario. Did you have a problem actually upgrading yourself to the new concepts that's going on today?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I as a producer, an engineer, and mixer, I didn't really follow that digital curve.
Okay,
I found it very difficult to work in that medium, and I just didn't. Things weren't sounding the same to me,
right,
when it moved over. I mean, I incorporated a little bit of the digital when it first came around in the early '90s into what I was doing, but I mean, I never said, "Oh, we're recording it digital today. The whole record's digital. We're going to go through one mic and this and that." It's like I said, "No, not going to happen. Not going to happen."
okay.
So I continued producing over the years, but I started working with different engineers all over the world that could actually do it digitally, engineering a lot better than I could. But I still, thank God, my ears still work, and as loud as
I
we
hear
used
you.
to listen in Vanguard, Pinky. I'm surprised my ears are still as good as they are. Really, really, man. Right?
Surprised to
Mark,
have them.
yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mark, let's talk about some of your platinum records, man, because you're like a king to me with all the platinum and gold
Okay.
records you have. And matter of fact, let's talk about your very first platinum
Okay. My very
record.
first platinum was the "You're So Vain" record by Carly Simon, and that was in 1973. I got that. So that was the very first one, and it was the very first record that I got my name on as an engineer. So, and it was a monster international smash record, and we had Mick Jagger singing background vocals on it, and
Right.
and Harry Nilsson came by the studio that night, and we drove over to Olympic Studios when the session was done at 4 in the morning, and hung out, watching the Rolling Stones mix their live '72 tour tapes, and looking at the John Bonham Led Zeppelin drum setup, and
Okay.
yeah, it doesn't exist anymore. It just doesn't exist anymore.
And so when you started to accumulate more platinum and how did that actually make you feel, man?
Oh, it's great. I mean, it's great seeing, the rewards of making music is watching it climb the charts. And then when we did all those Alicia records, Pinky,
Right.
it was like one record after another, after another, after another, and they were all like slamming in the clubs. So
Right.
um, that's really, well, we were doing dance music prior to that. Alicia,
Right.
I think we started Alicia in '73, and they came out in '84. 83 came out in '84. So it was, we were always doing it in the clubs.
Okay. I mean, how did it make you feel to actually go to, let's say, like the Paradise Garage or something like that, and
Mhm.
Larry plays one of your tracks? I mean, how did that actually make you feel, man? Because that had to be awesome.
It's an unbelievable experience, especially when you're listening to it played back at that volume, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Especially down at Larry's place, right? It was like he had like a great sound system, as well as like Studio 54.
Right. Right.
I remember the Studio 54 used to have these little tweeters hanging, just the tweeters hanging, and you could walk on, and like I swear I heard every frequency, known to man out of those little tweeters, right? And it was just like the ultimate playback system, right?
Yeah.
So that between that and Larry and Club Infinity back in the day, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Right. Go
it's
ahead.
yeah, it's a different, when you hear your own record, especially if you're a producer, and Mark being, an engineer, producer, when you walk into a club that has a decent sound system like the Garage, and
Hmm.
you hear your record being played, everything is magnified. Everything you've created is magnified 100-fold, and it creates a different vibration within you as a producer. When you go back into the studio, you're thinking about your productions because you have a different angle, um, hearing your records in the club. And not only that, watching the reactions of everybody partying to your record brings another level of excitement and, a path to go
We'd
back into the
walk
studio
walk
and keep
back
on
and forth
creating.
from the fun house at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. We'd bring tapes over to Jelly Bean. He'd play them, and then between Arthur Baker, I did a lot of the Arthur Baker sessions, and myself, we'd be looking at the okay. We lost a bunch of people here at this section. We got to cut that out. The bass sounds awesome, but the bass drum sounds like crap. It's like, and that's what you do, right? You just you pick it apart, and you're kind of walking really fast back to
I
the
can
studio.
imagine.
I gotta fix it. I gotta fix this right away.
Mark,
Down to
let
the
me ask
fundamentals. Go ahead, Ray.
you. Yeah, Mark, let me ask you a question. Going back to AMG, I mean, AMG is here. Um, what what sets AMG, the Attack Media Group, what sets it off from other media companies? Why, if I'm looking to get my film launched, why would I choose AMG? What sets AMG apart from others?
Yeah, AMG started when I met a guy named Robert Lantos, who's an Oscar-winning producer, and he had a company called Alliance Atlantis up here in Canada. And the Alliance Atlantis was right next to where I lived in Toronto, downtown Toronto. And I would always run into Robert Lantos, and then that's how we kind of got hooked up. and and Robert actually, through Frank Davies, gave me a publishing deal. I had one of my first music publishing deals, and they were using the very records I was producing to put into their feature-length film and television programming. And I said, I think I can do this. Robert Lantis was mega. You know, uh, I think I could do this, and that's how I kind of. Uh, AMG is a music, film, and television company. So it all started with music, and taking the very acts that I was producing and putting their music, which hadn't even been released yet at some points, into film, television, video games, advertisements, movie trailers, creating revenue streams for the very bands that were hiring me to produce their records. So, we had this outlet with Frank Davies um, at Alliance Atlantis, and it turned into be a great deal for many, many years,
Right.
where I was putting the very records I was producing, immediately getting them into films and TV shows and video games and, creating value for them. That's what it's all about.
Sure.
How can we make this, $30,000 that we spent on this record? How do we make this back, guys? You know, Great. We put it in a movie and they pay you 10 grand for one song in a movie, plus you get residuals, you know? And that's really how I chased up AMG.
That's a very interesting marketing strategy as far as promotion.
Right.
You know, um,
Absolutely.
Yes.
my question to you is, let's talk about most of the labels that you was actually associated with.
Mhm.
Can you just name a few?
Polygram, EMI, oh gosh, all the Atlantic Records, all the majors that were around New York at the time. I was not only producing records, like I was doing the Alicia records, and she was really the only one that I was producing domestically, but I was doing
Right.
a lot of mixing. Like they would finish a recording and send it to Mark at Vanguard, and and bang, I'd spit out a mix, And then I got into the freelance area, kind of when Vanguard was closing up, and then I started working with Polygram. I did all the Cool in the Gang stuff, Cameo. Uh, uh, um, I did Jackie Graham in the UK. It was doing a lot of work in the UK
Okay.
as well. So yeah.
Oh, my question to you is now you're in Canada and we're here in the States.
Mhm.
Is there a different type of mode as far as their acceptance to music, period?
No, no, Toronto's a music capital of the world, one of the music capitals of the world,
Okay.
as is Montreal.
Right.
Even though it's got a French angle to what they're doing, they get a little more of the Euro
Okay.
into what they're doing. There's a little more urban hip hop out of the Toronto area, and Simone Denny's from Toronto. I just did a record with Simone Denny
Hmm.
on it, so she's from Love Inc. and you know the huge scene, huge music scene here in Canada.
Okay. Ray.
Sure. Um, where is everything? Where do you see the music business headed now, Mark? Obviously, for the last 30, 40 years, there's been a shift in uh, production. The whole
Mhm.
world of technology has come in and is creating a path of, you know, a new path, a lot of new excitement based on technology.
Mhm.
You go back and forth, and there are those that wish that we can go back to the old days because of artists being a little bit more better represented in the business and having a little bit more security in the business. Where do you see the shift going in the next 5, 10 years with everything, Mark?
Well, it's so easy to make a record today. You can go into anyone's basement, and literally in 24 hours knock out a record. I don't have to go rent a big facility. You can do it in your bedroom, in your basement, and you can own the very master. I think ownership is going to be a big thing. If you own your master, then when you put it in a movie for 10 grand, then you're going to get that 5 grand that gets allocated, and then you wrote it, so you get the other five that's been allocated. So I think it's going to go into a lot of self ownership of masters and copyrights. And everything is just very inexpensive now. I mean, even to do video. I had a client that just came to me. That said, my uncle Nicky loaned me 10 grand to go do the video, and I go, what do you mean to go do the video? He goes, you better bring back 10 videos if you're going to do 10. Ain't no way I'm going to let you spend $10,000 on one video that's got a shelf life of 8 weeks. Okay, it's not going to happen, right? So it's a very immediate business. So at Spotify, we're as a company, our label services division, every 8 weeks, new single, new single, new single, every 8 weeks,
Wow.
mandatory,
Yeah,
mandatory.
Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to take a little break and for the promo purposes, and we'll be right back.
It's not just mine, his or her house. This is our house.
Turn around. You ain't really down.
Really now?
Playing the games you do. Someday, everything will be alright. Different, different people make the world go round.
Because of you, my dreams are coming true.
That erases my rainy day.
Right now. I don't care who's watching.
For whatever the reason there might be.
With your love by my side, the world will be mine. You're the one for me.
Yeah. Nobody, 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 nobody.
And we're back. My name is Tyrone Lowe. The show is called The Legends. And in the House of the Legends, we have my co host, Ray Pinky Velazquez and Mark Berry.
Great.
We're back, gentlemen. So let me ask you a question, Mark. To all this accomplishment that you've actually accomplished through the years, man, has it actually brought in your horizon as far as your mindset to say, well, I want to try to something new, maybe to change the atmosphere of the industry?
Yeah, I mean the business, like I said, it's the media business today. It's not these three separate industries. It's all merged and all merged together today. So anyone that approaches it differently, they're really not on the right track. So that's how music, film, I mean even AMG's branched off into executive producing films. So, so we executive produce films, work with an investor, Wall Street investor, and we get films on. But what do? We try to put our music in the soundtrack, right, of those very films
Okay.
that are going in for broadcast and for theatrical showing. And those songs that we put in, we own the publishing on, right?
Okay.
So we
And
control
that's
the
fundamentally
publishing.
the business.
Yeah, I mean, you got to take from within, right? If you're paying outside, I mean, some of the look at it. 10% of a movie's budget is music. Okay, so if you're shooting a $30 million movie, they're going to spend $3 million on music. All right, and that's just the business, right? And they get some very high end, a Beyonce track, a Jay-Z track, whatever, and then they come to companies like AMG where they're paying, 20, 30, $40,000 for a master and copyright on a one-stop clearance basis. So we can represent that we control the master, we control the copyright. Here's the song, contract's done in an afternoon. End of case, right?
Okay. Ray.
Mark, I have a quote from you, and I want to ask you a very simple question about it. And I'm going to read the quote for everyone. Quote unquote, we take the stress out of maneuvering the contemporary digital media landscape, helping artists and filmmakers of all levels maximize their revenue and potential. Explain that
Okay, so a
to the
client
audience.
comes to us with a master recording that they've done, and they just have no clue how to monetize it, right? And at the end of the day, if someone's going to come along and sign a band, they want to know. It's not about the great the Black Crowes story, where the A&R guy stumbled in drunk into a club in Georgia and heard this band and he was hammered and he signed the band and he turned out to be the Black Crowes. Right? Doesn't happen. Does not happen. Right? So they need to uh, uh, record a master as inexpensively as possible, right? With a competent producer and engineer, get it as 5 star as they can, and then once it's done, get it into a playlisting scenario that's generating revenue, and then get it out to film, television, video game, ad agency, movie trailer companies. That generates revenue, not only on a short-term basis, but a long-term basis. When they play that movie 5 years from now on Netflix in South Africa, you know what? You're getting paid, right? And those are the kind of insertions you want to be in, right? We did Coach Carter. We just got a check for $2,700, and we
Wow.
we control the master and copyright on one song that we did with Kanye West. You know,
Wow. That's amazing.
yeah. And then you want to get it into a digital radio format. So when you walk into Walmart, walk into Costco, walk into Starbucks, and you hear music coming out of the ceiling. That's all pre-programmed music. It's not from a radio station. It's from a digital radio station where they just pick it
Wow.
up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, and but you're getting paid for it worldwide.
Okay.
And so that's what I mean by that. That you need to, you know, uh, this is the area because you can't sell CDs anymore. It doesn't exist. It's over. That market is over. The vinyl market's still a vibrant, active market, but
Yep.
the CD as a tool to sell music does not exist anymore.
Okay. Do you think vinyl will ever take a big impact again?
I mean, in a very secluded genre. It's it's the dance area. There's a lot of classical stuff. A lot of people like listening to classical as well. But the dance market is you know,
Is where it's
I,
at.
yeah, yeah, like Pinky. Do you think it's like uh, what's the percentage is vinyl as opposed to digital being played when a DJ's spinning?
Uh,
Okay.
I mean, I would say about 4 or 5 years ago, it was highly digital. I think the DJ market is aware of old vinyl, and vinyl is coming back. So, I would say, I'm not sure if it's about 50-50, but vinyl is making its way back into the DJ sets at a pretty decent level right now.
I look at the fact about vinyl right now because I look at Louis Vega, and right now well, he does a lot of promotion with his music, and he's giving it to people on vinyl.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think that's a step up,
Great.
because a lot of people are actually they're giving you MP3s or they're giving you uh, CDs and things of that nature, but a lot of people now are doing their promotions and giving the DJs vinyl.
Great.
And
Yeah.
which is really crazy because a lot of guys aren't really playing vinyl these days.
Right.
And which I
Right.
think
Right.
that it brings the turntables back because before the actual CDJs, they were the turntables, and I know you know all about that, Ray, because to me, you're like the vinyl king, man. Come on, man. And what do you have to say about that, Ray?
Well, when you think of the whole club market,
Right.
uh, the club market is what I call part of the music business, and uh, Mark has been involved in different facets of the business. But when it gets to the club market, uh, you know, historically there's been different types of clubs. You've got gay clubs, straight clubs, black R&B clubs,
Mhm.
reggae clubs. You have
Right.
EDM, European music, and the club scene has evolved to
Hmm.
the point that it's inviting a lot of young people to experiment and find their way into the club market,
Mhm.
specifically because if you go to school and try to get an education today, it's difficult. So, music has opened up a channel for young America to explore and find themselves a little bit by being a DJ, by being like Mark said, going into your basement and being a little bit of a producer, exploring your talent and finding out what's there. And it's inviting the whole globe club market and kind of find themselves.
Mhm. Mhm.
Exciting in itself, but there's so much competition in it that's why you have
Right.
records being released, an artist coming out once a month, and
Because anyone can
over
make a record
three
today. I mean,
weeks that
anyone.
artist becomes history. It's just too many records.
Yeah,
So too
and
many.
anyone can make a record today, right? I mean, anyone can, can go into a basement and say, "Hey, I'm a producer now,"
Yeah,
and wake up in the morning and come out with a record, you know.
Okay.
And it could be a home run. It could be a hit record. You never know.
Mark,
that's
let me
true.
ask you a question.
Sure.
Sorry. Let me ask you a question, Mark. The upcoming DJs and producers and engineers that's coming out right now. Any words of advice for them that they should actually know about? I mean, even though they might go through an up or down scale.
They should all start creating their own content and branding their name, without a doubt. There's a tremendous. Listen, you're a DJ. You have this vast audience in front of you. You know, why can't you be Steve Aoka or Aoki and market and brand your name? To your very audience. I think every DJ should do that.
Okay. Ray.
You know, even though you're very creative in what you do, you have to protect the business side of what you're doing. You have to create that brand. You have to, you know, uh,
Bingo.
you know, establish your business. That's very important. And then work on that and learn uh, from others, how to make your business work. So,
Because there's a huge built-in audience there. I mean, it's like, if you're playing to 5,000 kids and let's say 10% buy a T-shirt from you, come on, that's like
yeah,
serious revenue. Besides what you're getting paid for to do the club. You know,
Right.
absolutely.
My question is, from your stand of view, Mark, different countries have different outlets and ways of receiving music. But which countries do you think really support themselves the most as far as in the industry that
Europe,
you might know of?
Europe.
Okay.
I mean, they're so far ahead of the game. In what they're doing. Like even like every summer, Ibiza and all these, club areas, across Europe and the Mediterranean and in Spain. It's like they just got it down to a science.
Okay. So at this,
It's
you're saying that the artist has a better chance as far as getting themselves more on a more promotional wise sort of thing.
I agreed. Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's more DJs over there that have a large international name to
Right.
themselves. Like Avicii, or Stonebridge, or we work with Stonebridge as well. So these are all DJs that have a huge brand.
Hmm.
Stonebridge has a show on Sirius XM. It's like
Okay.
brand that.
All right. Any current events that you need to tell the viewers that might be outstanding to them as far as you're concerned?
No, we got a couple of really cool films coming out, music related. We have a documentary coming on the Pointer Sisters with Ruth
Oh, really?
Pointer.
Okay.
Yeah, with the sole remaining Pointer sister alive.
Hmm.
And then we have a project called Sweat It Out, which is a documentary based on the early pub rock scene in Australia of the
Oh,
late
wow. That's
70s,
I know that's
early
quite
80s.
interesting.
Yeah, so we got like AC/DC in it. We got Jimmy Barnes, Cold Chisel, In Excess, early In Excess.
that's
But that very specific time period when that music in Australia started going out around the globe. You know,
I feel that I don't know how the music industry is going to actually connect with the next 5 or 10 years, Ben, but I just hope it doesn't lose its legacy. You know?
absolutely.
oh, yeah.
It's all up to
Yeah.
producers and writers and going out and doing their thing. You know,
Right. Well, gentlemen, it's time to go, and I
cool.
want to thank you guys, man, for actually being a part of this footage. And Mark, anytime, man, you have an extended you
Great,
have extended invitation.
great,
Ray, you're not going nowhere, so I don't have to worry about you, man.
cool.
you know,
Well, I'm
and
always here in Toronto, and I'm back and forth to New York all the time.
okay.
So let's hook up for a coffee
Well,
or a lunch.
hopefully when you come to New York, you can come to the TV studio where I actually broadcast, and Ray would definitely be there to co-host as well, man, and we could take it to a
Beautiful,
whole different level.
absolutely, man. I'm in.
Just come through. You
It's a
know.
wonderful studio, yeah. Mark, it's
Okay.
great seeing you again, and
Absolutely, buddy.
we got memories together. And for me, those memories are sacred. They really are sacred.
We made a lot of hits, man. A
Yeah,
lot of
absolutely,
hits.
I mean, look
absolutely.
at your wall, man. I'm jealous.
Yeah, we got a little hardware over here at AMG. A little hardware. You know.
Okay. And I want to thank my guests for coming through straight from Canada. We got Ray Pinky Velazquez in the house. And I want to thank you guys for actually listening to this show. And you guys actually stay tuned.
It's not just mine, his or her house. This is our house.